Think you have seen it all in MotoGP? Think again. From collision to breaking the rules, MotoGP riders have gotten penalized for some outrageous things. You won't want to miss this. MotoGP riders are always pushing the limits, but sometimes they go too far. Check out these shocking penalties that had everyone talking. But before delving into the video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Now let's get started. On number 6, we have ride-through penalty. The 2021 Portuguese Grand Prix was a thrilling spectacle of speed, skill, and high-stakes competition. The audience was on the edge of their seats, and the riders were pushing their limits to outdo each other. Among the racers vying for glory was Fabio Quartararo, a French professional motorcycle racer with a reputation for fearlessness and precision on the track. During the race, Quartararo found himself in a bit of trouble when he was given a ride-through penalty for exceeding track limits. These rules are put in place to ensure that the competition remains fair and that all riders stay safe on the track. Unfortunately, Quartararo pushed the boundaries a little too far and received the penalty. Quartararo must have thought he was playing Mario Kart or something, but alas, he got caught and had to ride through the pit lane like a school kid in detention. For any racer, a ride-through penalty is a major setback. It means that they have to ride through the pit lane and rejoin the race at the back of the field. But Quartararo is no ordinary racer. With his unbreakable spirit and skill, he was able to make up lost ground and continue fighting for a spot on the podium. So let's raise a glass to Fabio, the skilled racer who also had his moments of humor and goofiness on the track. Speaking of penalties, let's move on to another one on our list. On number 5, we have disqualification. The 2019 Austrian Grand Prix had all the ingredients for an exciting and adrenaline-fueled race. However, for Joan Zarco, it turned out to be a day he would rather forget. The French racer had a reputation for his impressive skills on the track, but on that fateful day, he made a costly mistake that would have serious consequences. The incident that led to Zarco's disqualification was a stark reminder of the dangers of motorcycle racing. With speeds reaching up to 200 miles per hour, the slightest miscalculation can have devastating consequences. For Zarco, his attempt to overtake Oliveira was ill-fated and resulted in a collision that could have been avoided. You know, because crashing at 200 miles per hour is such a fun activity. The official's decision to disqualify Zarco was not only a reflection of his reckless behavior on the track, it was also a reminder that safety should always be a top priority. With the stakes so high, racers need to exercise caution and responsibility to ensure that all participants can enjoy the thrill of the race safely. Despite the disappointment of his disqualification, Zarco's response to the incident was admirable. By acknowledging his mistake and taking responsibility for his actions, he demonstrated the qualities of a true sportsman. That's right, folks. He's not just a speed demon, he's also a responsible speed demon. Zarco's commitment to improving his skills on the track and continuing to compete in the MotoGP showed his love and passion for the sport. Can we all agree that penalties should be reserved for such serious infractions? I mean, it's a bummer when a rider gets hit with a penalty for something trivial, right? Now, let's move on to another penalty that caught the attention of MotoGP fans worldwide. On number 4, we have time penalty. In this, the rider is given a specific time penalty which is added to their race time. Miguel Oliveira, the dashing and daring Portuguese professional motorcycle racer, is no stranger to the high-stakes world of MotoGP. As a fierce competitor, he lives for the adrenaline rush of pushing his bike to its limits and battling it out with his rivals on the track. But during the 2021 MotoGP Portuguese Grand Prix at the Algarve International Circuit in Portimao, Oliveira found himself in hot water with the officials. Riding for the Red Bull KTM factory racing team, Oliveira was seen pushing the boundaries of the track. It ventured off onto the green runoff area at turn 1 multiple times during the race. It was a move that did not go unnoticed by the eagle-eyed officials, who promptly hit Oliveira with a violation of the rules for exceeding track limits. In the aftermath of the race, Oliveira was left to face the music as he was handed a 3-second time penalty. This ultimately dropped him to 10th position in the final results. While some may have been disheartened by the outcome, Oliveira remained upbeat and positive. He expressed his satisfaction with his performance and heaped praise on his team for their tireless efforts. But hang on, it's not over yet. There's another one, and we are about to dive into another juicy penalty that has the MotoGP world buzzing with excitement. But before that, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. On number 3, we have back of the grid penalty. This penalty means that the rider has to start the race from the last position on the grid. Well, the excitement and anticipation of the Qatar Grand Prix were quickly overshadowed by the news of 3 high-profile Moto3 riders facing penalties. It was for their irresponsible riding during qualifying. The FIM stewards were quick to crack down on this behavior, sending the trio to the back of the grid and handing out long lap penalties. Izan Gunvara, who had qualified in first place, and Tatsuki Suzuki in 9th, were both found guilty of slowing down on the racing line at turn 1. This disrupts the other riders. These actions were deemed unacceptable, and the FIM officials made sure that the riders faced the consequences of their actions. Faja, the reigning Moto3 title runner-up, had an even tougher penalty to serve. He had to start from the back of the grid and serve not 1, but 2 long lap penalties. This was due to his actions of holding up other competitors when he joined the track from the pits. He was weaving dangerously on the home straight, trying to break the slipstream for following riders. Looks like someone should have spent more time practicing and less time misbehaving. It's not all doom and gloom. The new Moto3 grid lineup was led by Ayumu Sasaki, with Jaume Masia and Andrea Migno close behind. Well, moving on to another penalty that caused quite a stir in the MotoGP world, we have 3 grid positions on number 2 of our list. Well, 3 grid positions typically refers to a penalty where a rider is moved back 3 places on the starting grid for the next race. Valentino Rossi, the illustrious Italian racer, had tasted immense success in the world of MotoGP. However, one incident during the 2015 Malaysian Grand Prix left a blemish on his otherwise remarkable career. The race saw Rossi engaged in a fierce battle for position with the Spanish rider Marc Marquez. The 2 riders collided several times, each accusing the other of dangerous driving. In a moment of frustration, Rossi gave Marquez's bike a little kick and the poor guy went flying. It was a classic case of foot meets bike, and Marquez had to retire from the race. After a thorough review of the incident, the race officials concluded that Rossi was at fault. They imposed a penalty of 3 grid positions for the following race in Valencia, causing him to start from the back of the grid. The incident triggered a massive controversy in the world of MotoGP, with fans and experts divided on whether Rossi had deliberately caused the crash or not. Despite the penalty, Rossi maintained his stance that Marquez had been riding recklessly and the collision was not intentional. In a recent interview on Gianluca Gasoli's BSMT podcast, Rossi and Marquez found themselves once again in the spotlight. Rossi accuses Marquez of troubling him throughout the race in Malaysia. He even tried to throw him off his bike. Marquez, in return, accused Rossi of helping Jorge Lorenzo in the World Championship. However, this was not the end of Marquez's involvement in controversies, as he was soon penalized for another incident. Therefore, we have long lap penalty on number 1 of our list. In the high-stakes world of MotoGP, every move can make the difference between victory and defeat. In the long lap penalty, riders must take a longer route through a designated section of the track, adding time to their lap. And in the 2021 Portuguese Grand Prix, Marc Marquez's ambitions for a podium finish came crashing down. As the riders hurtled around the first turn of the circuit, Marquez made a bold attempt to overtake his opponent, Miguel Oliveira. But in a split second, disaster struck. Marquez's front wheel made contact with the rear wheel of Oliveira's bike, sending both riders hurtling towards the ground. The incident sent shockwaves through the MotoGP community, with fans and experts alike debating who was at fault. However, the race stewards were quick to take action. After reviewing the incident, they determined that Marquez was responsible for the crash and slapped him with a long lap penalty. He is now compelled to serve his penalty during the MotoGP Portugal Grand Prix. What do you think about the incident between Marc Marquez and Miguel Oliveira during the MotoGP Portuguese Grand Prix? Do you believe Marquez was at fault for the crash? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.